You remember in the last episode, episode 1, we talked about how the parents of Madeleine were prime suspects.
There are many inconsistencies in what the group who were having dinner with the McCanns, the so-called Tapas 9, have said in their witness statements. This is what the McCanns say happened that night.
There's a party of 9. It's coming towards the end of their holiday and most people are drinking. All the couples have children in the apartments. They say they took turns to check up on them.
We all knew what we had to do, what we were doing, and it worked. It was a system we had going and it just seemed totally right,
And later it was lifted by the Portuguese police. Back in the UK, Madeleine's parents continued their own investigation using private detectives until finally Scotland Yard opened their own inquiries, which they called Operation Grange. This was in 2011. So imagine, let's recap the timeline. Madeleine disappeared in 2007. In 2008 the Portuguese police closed the case due to lack of evidence. Only in 2011 Scotland Yard opened their own inquiries. After 3 years. My question is, why after 3 years? How much time passed then and how many things could have happened to the poor child?
The McCanns travelled to Berlin to raise awareness about the search for Madeleine. They're going on to the Netherlands. At a press conference for the German media, a radio reporter put to them the most blunt question they've faced so far about their own actions.
How do you deal with the fact that more and more people seem to be pointing the finger at you, saying the way you behave is not the way people would normally behave if their child is abducted, and they seem to imply that you might have something to do with it?
To be honest, I don't actually think that is the case. I think that's a very small minority of people that are criticising us. The facts are out there. We were dining very close to the children and we were checking on them very, very regularly. We are very responsible parents and we love our children so much, and I think it's only a very few people that are actually criticising us.
I have never heard before that anyone considers us suspects in this, and the Portuguese police certainly don't. And without getting into too much detail about the circumstances, we were with a large group of people, and there is absolutely no way Kate and I are involved in this abduction.
She was already 11 years old when the first official inquiry opened. In all this time no one knew nothing of Madeleine, and in all this time freedom was given to the kidnapper. He could have done anything to her. Let's not forget this is described as the most heavily reported missing person case in modern history, and her whereabouts to this day are unknown. Let's get back to Scotland Yard. The officer said they are treating this disappearance as a criminal act by a stranger, either a burglary gone wrong or most likely a planned abduction. But this brings more confusion. If it was a burglary gone wrong, then why was Madeleine taken away? Why were the twins there but she was taken? Doesn't make sense. If a planned abduction, then why was she the only one abducted? Or why was she the one abducted? October 14, 2013, Scotland Yard released 2 EFIT pictures of the same man, in what was seen as a major development in the case. The 2 computer refits are composed from statements and descriptions given by 2 members of the Smith family. The police had witnesses placing the man in the resort area where Madeleine was staying. Another man was also seen carrying a child toward the beach that night. At this point the Portuguese police reopened their inquiry. Then in 2015 Operation Grange was scaled back, but the remaining detectives continued to pursue a small number of inquiries described in April 2017 as significant. The disappearance of Madeleine attracted very much international and UK coverage interest, reminiscent of the death of Diana in 1997. The McCanns were under immense scrutiny and baseless allegations of involvement in their child's death, particularly in the tabloids and Twitter. In 2008, however, they received damages and apologies from newspapers. It's still not clear where the investigation lead. All I can see is being opened, dropped, opened again, and dropped again. But we need an answer. There has to be one. We need to know what happened with Madeleine. In our next episode of the series we'll cover more of this investigation.